Okay, again, it's going to be a talk through. I realize when I talk through things, you may wonder why I'm talking through this. I'm trying to encourage you to talk your way through answer keys if you're given an answer key. I always say the gold standard of education is to be able to look at other people's work and understand what they did. In mathematics, though, that's going to require a piece of paper and pencil. And when you're working with a book, you should really have a piece of paper and pencil nearby you to work things out. Just don't say, oh, yeah, this is obvious, this is obvious. Nothing's obvious until you show it's obvious to yourself. So, I'm going to say, I think I've been doing this for some time now, writing a formula down. And in that formula, if I were looking at it, uh, what do I know? I know AN in the formula, and I know D in the formula, but I don't know A1. So what I did was I took this first equation and I solved it for A1, which I'm going to say, it looks fairly easy to do, but you know what, fairly easy or not, I want to make sure I can do it. So if I solve for A1, I want to write this down for you. A1 would equal AN minus N minus 1D. Now, by the way, I notice it's written a little bit differently. I want to go through that with you. So A1, AN, I factored a minus 1 out, so it's plus, and then it would be 1 minus ND. So I'm pretty comfortable that this is okay to me, all right? So I'm going to say I'm working my way, paper and pencil, to get to a result. And I want to kind of erase my work over here, my pencil work, my paper and pencil, and just try to understand things. And I got the formula for A1. That's not a problem for me. All right, I got that. And I want to point out A1 is equal to AN. I know what AN is. I know what D is. You know what? I don't know what N is, though, do I? So this is really not a formula. I got to figure this out now, and let's write this down then. So the next thing I would probably write down is the SN formula. And what's that going to be equal to? Well, we know what that is. And what's A1? Well, let me write this down now. So SN, I want to see if I can figure this out. SN, N, 2, and I'm just copying. And what's A1? It's really AN plus 1 minus N, D, and then it's going to be plus AN. Well, if I were to simplify that, and again, we're just talking through the notes as if I were studying. There's going to be N, then you get 2AN plus 1 minus ND. All right, let's get my eraser out. And I think I'm at, I'm sorry, I'm thinking we're at a certain level of the game now. And let me see if I got that level of the game. Did I get this over here? I did. All right, I got the N, I got the 2AN, and I got the N minus 1D. All right, I also want to emphasize that typing is an important skill set. To be able to type these things up so other people can read what's down there is important for you. Let me erase this over here, and we're done with this. We're just going one step at a time. And again, you may be lost. When you're lost, you go backwards. You find out where you were, and you keep moving forward from there where you were at that point. So let's take a look. And I'm kind of looking at it, and I noticed, it's like the other thing. I still don't know what the N is, but let me see this. I know what AN is. I don't know what N is. I know what D is. And I know what SN is. So I'm kind of looking at that equation, and I want to it's quadratic in N, but I got to show you that. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, so it's going to be 2SN. And I'm trying to work my way to the next line. That's 2SN. And then I would get, I got to be careful here too. It's going to be 2NAN plus, I'm distributing by the way, ND minus N squared D. So I'm going to say it's quadratic in N. I'm going to rewrite it for you. So I'm going to say D N squared. I did that. Minus 2AN plus D, that's a D, N, I got these two, plus 2SN equals 0. All right, I want to go over here and I'll make sure you know where I am. And where am I? I'm right over here. Did I get what they said I'd get? dn squared minus the quantity 2an plus d times n 2sn. This is good news. Now what am I going to do? Can I get to the next line? Let me erase this. Can I get to the next line? Now, by the way, someone says, how'd you get to the next line? What did you do? I used the quadratic formula. So let's write this down. N is going to equal to, well, twice the coefficient on the square term with 2d. All right, then what do you do? Well, I got to do something here. Opposite of the coefficient on the linear term, well, that's just going to be 2an plus d. That's the opposite of it. Plus or minus the square root. Well, it's going to be the tough part. I always say it is. I got to square the coefficient on the linear term. That's 2an plus d squared. And then it's going to be minus 4ac. So minus 8dsn. There's an error in the key. And I see it now. But it'll be corrected. You're not going to see that in your notes, by the way. That should be a D. But the question is, am I getting what I'm supposed to be getting? But I just caught an error, all right? I have to correct my errors, by the way. So let's see. We got this. Let's see. Did I get that? 2an plus d plus or minus. Yeah, not bad. I got it. All right. By the way, I'll correct my key. Don't worry about it. You're not going to see that in your problems. I see it. And I correct this as things go along, by the way. Oh, boy. I just found n. Did they want a formula for n? They did. They wanted a formula for n. Here comes my problem. I hope you realize that n must be greater than 0. It's an integer, by the way. So now what I'm going to do, I got to get a formula for a1. So let's write this down. What's a1 going to be equal to? a1 is going to be equal to an. Well, you know what? I know an. That's not a problem. Plus 1 minus n times the d. Well, I know everything, and I'll write this down for you now. All right, so let me point out where it's written down. Well, you know what I need to simplify. I'm sorry. I didn't do that part. This should be an plus d minus nd. Right? That's written right over here. All right? By the way, I'm just simply recopying this over here. But I'm doing the two cases. And someone said, what are the two cases over here? It's plus or minus. So I put the plus down here. And the other case is where you put the minus down. But let me just kind of go through it one step at a time. And, looking at it, an plus d, and then it's going to be nd. So I wrote this over here. All right? It's just straightforward. That's pretty straightforward. By the way, I want to get my eraser out because I'm pretty good at understanding this part over here. But what I want to claim over here is I'm wondering how they got that answer over there. And I want to go through that with you. All right, so if I do that, I want to point out, if I just looked at it, this d would cancel. All right? And then looking at it, I want to point out I need a common denominator of 2. And what would you get? You would get 2an plus 2d, and then minus what's inside that parentheses there, right? So I hope you realize you get 2an minus that crazy looking root. And all I want to do is make sure that I'm getting what I said I was supposed to be getting. All right? So let's see if I got that. And I'm carefully looking at this, right? So 2AN, 2Ds, the ANs disappear. And D minus D, I forgot to put the minus D down, sorry about that. 2D minus D is D. Yeah, I'm getting it. So we're going to get D minus that thing over there. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I'm going to say I'm good. All right, let's do the next one. And the next one really is the same thing. I got to change the signs, right? So let's do that. And again, it's plus or minus, so I'm putting two cases down. And let's see if we can do that. And it's really the same story, all right? So I'm at this line now in the story, and instead of this, I got the minus sign over here, all right? Let me just outline that for you. Got this over here, okay? It's the only difference. It's the only difference. I got the problem over here. So I got to do the arithmetic again, and I want to point out what I mean by that. The D cancels. It's tedious, isn't it? And I get a 2 in the bottom. That's pretty simple. And let's see, you get 2AN, 2D, and then you're going to get minus 2AN, and let's see, minus D, and minus a minus is a plus that radical. Right, put a little star over there. And what would that give you? Well, the ANs disappear, and you do get a D, and then you get plus the radical, and that's over 2. So things are working out nicely. It's tedious, though. I realize that. And I also want to claim that a lot of times when I'm writing things down, that it's kind of hard to read. And I do want to emphasize that although it's a lot of effort to type things up, you really should be learning how to typeset mathematics, all right? And by that, what I mean, it's a struggle, but everyone that goes into a math-related career has to learn how to typeset mathematics. Now, I'll be honest with you, some people's penmanship is quite good, and they have no troubles communicating with the written word. But for the most part, professionally, it's not the written word, it's the typeset, all right? So you need to learn typesetting, all right? I actually find it easier to typeset than to write things down, but I got to be honest with you. When I'm writing these notes over here, I'm using a tremendous amount of paper and pen to do it. And when I do it, I got to take what I've written on a piece of paper and pencil, which sometimes is not very neat, and get into a neat form, typeset form. All right, so if students that are interested, you could reach out to me. Again, you probably know my name is Ron Bannon. It's right up here. My email address is B as in boy, the @ symbol, NNON.US. All right? Thank you so much for paying attention. By the way, if you do reach out to me and I don't get back to you, I apologize in advance. However, if I'm not overwhelmed with emails, I will try to respond to you. Thank you.